GMO You Should Know. My name is Tyler Carlos Spencer, and I will be your host for today's show. Today we have a very special guest, Miss Rachel Scarlett.
Hey everyone! Thank you so much for having me on your show. What an honor. So what am I here for, Tyler?
You are here to speak with me about the issue of GMOs. I'll ask you some questions.
Yeah, I know a lot about GMOs.
Well then, let's get started.
So, what's my first question?
What are GMOs?
We don't need to know what they are to know that they're helping us, and it can end world hunger. I think they're foods, though. Special foods.
Interesting. Your next question is, what are GMOs good for the environment?
Yes, of course. They haven't hurt anything. It's not like things shrivel up and die after GMOs are introduced. They help us have healthy foods and bodies.
Alrighty then. What is the cost of labeling GMOs?
I heard somewhere it was like $500 per person per year to label GMOs. That's really expensive. I buy only GMO foods.
Next question. Have GMOs been tested on living things?
Of course not. There's no need. I mean, they don't have any effects on the human body. It's fine.
Okay. Another question. How do GMOs affect farmers?
Farmers get rich from selling crops that have GMO chemicals in them, duh.
Okay. Do GMOs have positive or negative impacts on humans?
Only positive effects, because GMOs are really good for you, and they're approved by scientists and other important people.
Moving on. How do you tell the difference between GM food and normal food?
Well, genetically modified food looks so much better than organic food. It also tastes better.
Last question. What are companies or people doing to try to get rid of GMOs?
Well, I don't know why someone would want to get rid of them, and if someone is, they're stupid, and also don't know anything about how amazing GMOs are for the world.
We will return after this short break.
Hello, we are Say No to GMO. Our mission as a very real organization is to help you and your lovely dog eat healthy. We don't want you stuck eating crap from your local garbage dump. Instead, go to the store and eat something real. Just go to the store! Don't be a lazy person and sit in the tub all day thinking about your life choices. Instead, please just get up and go to your local grocery store to pick out some delicious, all-natural fruits and vegetables. Don't be lazy!
This message was brought to you by Say No to GMO. Thank you for listening to that very strange commercial. Now, back to the answer section of the show. Your first question was, what are GMOs? You said you didn't know. The correct answer was, GMOs are genetically modified organisms. They are living organisms that have been artificially manipulated by genetic engineering. They are made up of putting other animals or plants' DNA in your foods. The foods that are mostly genetically modified are sugar beets, soy, canola, cotton, and corn. GMOs cross-pollinate and their seeds can travel. This means that it's impossible to fully clean up GMOs. It's a permanent effect on the environment. Unabsorbed fertilizer, some caused by GMOs, caused 6,000 square mile dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, which is probably more damaging than BP oil spill.
Oh man, I had no idea.
Your second question was, are GMOs good for the environment? You said yes they are. Well, I'm truly sorry, but scientists have found that some GM crops produce their own pesticides that can kill insects. Also, farmers have to use more weed killers if they use herbicide crops. Although biotech companies have promised that GM'd crops that have drought tolerance and enhanced nutrition, these traits are not actually available. Pesticides are very dangerous. They can cause cancer, lowered IQ, autism disorders in babies, and more health issues.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Yes!
Jack.
Your next question was, what is the cost of labeling GMOs? The correct answer is about $2.30 per person per year. Labels are changing constantly. There would be no chaos caused by creating a new label. Many companies support labeling GMOs. Over 400 companies support labeling GMOs and want you to know what's in your food. Chemical and food companies teamed up and spent $45 million to stop Prop 37, an initiative to require genetically modified food to be labeled. Some of the top companies who spent were Monsanto at $8.1 million and DuPont at $5.4 million.
Wow, those companies really don't want us to know what's
The next question was, have GMOs been tested on living things? You said that there was no need. The correct answer is yes. There have been tests on rodents, small animals, and farm animals, but there have been no tests on living humans. It's not worth the risk to test it, but if it's not worth it, how do we know that GMOs are safe for us? We don't. We think the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, doesn't study the health risks because they have way less money than Homeland Security, about 1/15 of their budget. This is unusual because there are more food-related deaths than terrorist deaths. In August 2014, a Pew Research survey shows that 57% of Americans think it's generally unsafe to eat GMOs, and 37% said it was safe. 88% of scientists said it's safe, but only 28% of the public thought scientists understood the health effects of GMOs.
Oh, that's weird. I thought I was right for sure. It's interesting how people don't trust that scientists know anything about GMOs.
Yeah. The next question was, how do GMOs affect farmers? And you answered not entirely wrong, actually. The correct answer is, they do because farmers' crops can be taken over by the biotech companies that created GMOs. GMOs can also drift from neighboring farms that use GMOs onto their crops and occur for farms where it is unwanted. Since GMOs are patented, farmers can be sued for having GMOs on their crops, even if they don't want them.
Well, that's weird. I guess I don't know much about GMOs. I always only looked at the positive aspect of them and ignored the negative side. I suppose that GMOs are actually more bad than good usually.
Your next question was, do GMOs have positive or negative effects on humans? The correct answer is both, because in places like Africa, genetically modified food can help people get the nutrition that they need. But in some places, GMOs have been banned because they can cause health problems and allergic reactions to some foods. GMOs have been likened by some of the major food allergies, like having reactions to peanuts or other foods.
Oh, I've learned a lot today about GMOs. Thank you so much. I think I will try to purchase only non-GMO foods from now on. I now realize the negative effects and reasons for them.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I have made a difference in the way you see GMOs. And the next question was, how can you tell the difference between genetically modified food and non-GMO foods? The answer is, you can't. GMOs are undetectable to us. That's what's so scary. Farmers may not even know if they have genetically modified crops. So be careful that you may be eating genetically modified food without even knowing it. Some stores like Whole Foods and the Seward Co-op and some other brands label their GMO or non-GMO foods. This is helpful because then you get to know what's inside of your food. But like I mentioned before, lots of companies don't want to label their products because they think people won't buy their products if they label them as GMOs.
That actually makes a lot of sense. That's really terrifying now that I think about it. Ugh.
Now we are down to the very last question. It was, what are people and companies doing to try to get rid of GMOs? The answer is, some companies are working on banning GMOs to help improve health. But it's also powerful biotech companies that are a major obstacle. The main focus is to label GMOs in stores. GMO-free food can be expensive and hard to find and causes another major issue. These companies include the Non-GMO Project and Just Label It.
To wrap up this episode of GMO You Should Know, we would like to try to persuade you again not to buy GMOs and eat healthy. We want genetically modified foods labeled because they pose a threat to the human population. As we said before, there have been studies linked to the health risks with eating GMOs. We want GMOs labeled because many people oppose them but don't know which foods are genetically modified and which aren't. Think of the farmers. They could be sued for someone else's genetically modified crops drifting to their field. Companies like Monsanto, Coca-Cola, DuPont, and PepsiCo don't want you to know these things because they make money off of them. Help us promote labeling GMOs and get informed.